even though my projects were a lot of environmental base, you can also just look at maybe things that people have been impacted by, like health-wise, or just things that you could look to improve in the world. I feel that it's important to something you find something that is personal to you, because you'll be more motivated and inspired to pursue your research. Oftentimes science can be tough, but it's super rewarding when you feel that you're making a difference, not only in your life, but in the lives of others as well.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeremy Shore from TIES and the STEM Learning Ecosystem Community of Practice, and I'm part of the team organizing the 2025 National STEM Festival presented by EXPLR. We're thrilled to have you join us for our 3-part Science Fair Masterclass series, where you'll learn how to submit an incredible project to the 2025 challenge. You could be awarded a trip to Washington, D.C. to present your project to STEM and government leaders and the public. It's going to be an incredible weekend in March filled with fun, networking, meeting other young inventors and problem solvers, and a ton of educational opportunities. First up, we're joined by Nikki. Nikki is attending North Toole County High School in Sunburst, Montana. She'll be attending Carroll College to major in bio and pre-physical therapy. Nikki loves science and hopes to use it to make the world a better place. And Nikki's project, redesigning a wind turbine, earned her a spot as a national STEM champion in 2024. Nikki, we're so glad to have you with us today. You had a great submission last year. What can we learn from you as we're thinking about submissions for this year?
Thank you. I had a great time at the National STEM Festival last year, and I hope everybody here considers applying for it. I'd like to mention that inspiration is everywhere. I mean, be sure to keep a lookout for problems in your community or things that you can look to improve on in general. I come from a small town that is super close to the largest wind farm in Montana, and ever since I was a little girl, I have looked upon these wind turbines almost every single day. The company that runs this wind farm even came to my school when I was little, and it made a lasting impact on me. And constantly being exposed to these wind turbines always had me thinking about wind energy and how it can really change our energy industry. So I wanted to learn more. So I did some research, and I actually learned that my home state is ranked 5th in the nation for wind energy potential. But in general, most wind turbines don't reach their full energy potential due to wind intermittency. Wind turbines are also super expensive, take up lots of land, and can also pose a threat to flying birds. Even though they have a lot of great things going, there's definitely some things we could look to improve upon. So for this reason, I was inspired to create an improved version of the wind turbine that would better utilize the space of the wind turbine by putting another vertical wind turbine inside of the tower of the horizontal turbine. So I also would like to say you can use your community for a variety of different things. I've also used my community to look at agriculture because that's something that's also huge for us. We live near alkali flats, so I also look to see how maybe we could plant plants there as well. We're also we were in the 1920s an oil boom town, so that's something I've also looked to remediate hydrocarbon contaminated soils with there.
And I think that's one of the most exciting things about the National STEM Challenge and the National STEM Festival is that it's not science for science sake. It's not, a volcano erupting that you made in 6th grade. It's really solving a problem. And I love that you got to really dig into something that was important to you and to your community. Now, Nikki, you're really, really confident on camera. Can you talk a little bit about that? What tips do you have for being so confident on camera?
Be willing to be open and be honest and kind of go in with an idea of what you were going to say and prepare in advance. Maybe write out some thoughts about what you're going to say or run it through a couple of times before recording, because it can just give you that extra little bit of confidence saying, well, I've got this. I know what I'm doing.
That is great advice. And we have another 2024 champion alumni joining us shortly. But first, let's hear from Broadcom Foundation's Paula Golden, who has some words of encouragement for you.
We're delighted that you are going to enter your STEM project in the festival this year. We're eager to see your brilliance and the wonderful ideas that you're bringing forward for STEM of the future. Now, to make sure that the judges understand the value of your project and give it due consideration, it's extremely important that you make sure your video communicates your ideas in a concise and exciting manner. We're going to take a little time to give you some ideas and pointers on how to make a strong video presentation so you can really shine and give us your best efforts in sharing your STEM project with us. Good luck. We hope to see you as a champion in March, and join us at the Broadcom Foundation Ice Cream Social.
Thanks, Paula. I have another special guest for you all. Tushar is a dedicated rising junior at Parkland High School in PA with a passion for robotics and app development. Outside the classroom, he enjoys the competitive thrill of basketball and the engaging escapades of video games. Tushar's project was titled RecycleBot, Machine Learning-Based Automated Waste Detection and Classification. Tushar is going to speak on his experience with the National STEM Challenge and give you some tips and tricks to making your research shine. Tushar?
It all started with my interest in solving a common problem, waste classification. I realized that many people, including myself, often found it confusing to decide what goes into the recycling bin, what's compostable, and what's just trash. This confusion can lead to improper waste disposal, which has serious environmental consequences. That's where RecycleBot came in. I developed a web app to help people easily classify their waste using their smartphones or any other device. The app uses machine learning to identify various types of waste materials and provides guidance on proper disposal. I did face a lot of challenges while developing RecycleBot, like collecting a diverse set of training data to fine-tune the app's accuracy, but it was also incredibly rewarding to see the project take shape and have a real-world impact. I do have a couple of tips that might help for the applications for 2025. The first one I'm going to start off with is to start with a real-world problem and finding a project that addresses a real issue that you're passionate about. Real-world significance not only makes your work more impactful, but also keeps you motivated. The second tip here is to embrace technology. Don't shy away from using technology to enhance your project, whether it's coding, data analysis, or machine learning like I used in RecycleBot. Technology can take your research to the next level. The third tip is to be prepared to go through multiple reiterations of your project. Test, gather feedback, and adjust. The first version is rarely perfect, and that's okay. For RecycleBot, I had to tweak the machine learning model several times to improve accuracy. The fourth tip is to make it user-friendly. If you're developing an app, consider the end user in your design. It should be easy for people to understand and use. The fifth tip here is to communicate clearly. The project should be presented with ease and clarity, and you should create 1, 3, and 5-minute presentations for your project and practice explaining your work to different audiences.
Tushar, a lot of really valuable insights there. The internet has taught me to love a list. I think one of the most interesting things that you mentioned was the importance of communication. I think a lot of us in the science world focus, as we should, on the need and on creating solutions, but sometimes we forget that if we can't communicate those solutions effectively to the world, it's really difficult for it to go anywhere. And you're clearly very good at that. So I'm curious what steps you took to prepare for your video. Did you write out what you wanted to say? And why did you choose to stage your video at the Recycling Drop-Off Center?
So the first steps I took to prepare for my video is I kind of created an outline for the key points I wanted to discuss in the video. As we know, there is a limited amount of time to share the projects that could have taken months, and sharing that information usually takes more than a couple of minutes. So I made sure to create that outline and pinpoint how much time I wanted to spend on each important section of my research so I can effectively convey that to the judges and the audience. And I did write out a script because I did not want to waste any time either stuttering or trying to remember what my next point was going to be. So I think writing a script can be very effective. And then addressing that last question there on why I staged my video at the Recycling Drop-Off Center, going into the final round, I kind of realized that there was going to be a lot of competition, and I really wanted my video to be unique. So I thought the perfect way of making it as unique as possible is starting it off at the local recycling center, because that kind of sums up the main reason for my research, and that is to get more items into those recycling centers. And I felt like I can engage the audience a little bit more by starting it off at that recycling center. So I think adding that uniqueness factor to your video is definitely what's going to take your application to the next level.
And we want to get people's attention, right? We want to make sure that they see the need, because if they see the need and they see the solution, we're going to go a lot further in making major changes and making the world a better place. And I love that that's a way that you were thinking. Sometimes I like to think about what not to do. There's so many ways to do things right that sometimes it's really important that we make sure that we're just not doing things wrong. So I wonder what I should avoid, or what submitters should avoid when creating their video to kind of prevent those common mistakes.
Well, I would just try to focus on what's important. Don't try to put too much information into your video, because if you're trying to convey too much, you're probably going to talk too fast and feel a lot more flustered. I would definitely try and start by doing an outline of your project, maybe saying what you want to cover for sure, and making sure you hit those important points. I also, when I wrote out my outline, I said what I was going to say, also including what visuals I also wanted to include. I would plan to, when making your video, I would try to break it up into chunks, maybe film a little bit at a time so there's less pressure to get it all right in one take, and it will allow you to perfect each segment exactly how you want it. I would also make sure to find something stable or someone stable to hold the camera so that when you're doing this, the focus isn't on an unstable camera, but the focus is truly on you.
How can I effectively explain my project's purpose and significance within a short time frame? This is something I've been thinking about for years. It's something I've spent hundreds of hours creating. There's a whole lot of data information, but earlier, Tushar told us that we need to be able to talk about it in 1 minute, in 3 minutes, in 5 minutes. So how can I effectively explain my project's purpose and significance in that short time frame?
I would say the first thing I would say is to start with a clear and concise introduction. So begin by briefly stating the problem your project addresses and why it is important. The next thing is to include statistics if available in that introduction, and then also frame your explanation like a story. Start with the problem, then move into the solution that you have to that problem, and finally explain the potential impact. Next is to highlight key benefits and impact by outlining the benefits of your project and its potential impact, and focusing on how your work could solve real-world problems or improve existing conditions. Also, keeping it simple, as I had mentioned before, and avoid overly technical language. Explain any necessary technical terms in simple language to preserve time. And then lastly, ending with a strong conclusion is always important to make that lasting impact in the judge's brain, and summarizing the key points and reiterating the significance of your project.
Be clear, be concise, show your passion, and maybe think about those visuals. Things like Tushar's recording location, not required, but they certainly lend an air of interest.